My name is Emma, and I'm 31 years old. 3 months ago, my fiancé Marcus proposed to me at the most expensive restaurant in New York, with a vintage sapphire ring and promises of forever. It should have been the happiest moment of my life. Instead, it became the beginning of an unraveling that would expose 7 years of buried secrets and force me to question everything I thought I knew about the man I loved. You see, Marcus had never introduced me to his family, not once in our 2 years together. Every time I asked, his hands would tremble, and he'd change the subject. The day I finally discovered why he was hiding them, I found myself standing in a care facility, face to face with a truth so devastating it would either destroy us completely or teach us what love really means when it's stripped of all its pretty lies. But before we move back to it, comment down your age and where you are watching from, and if this story resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about deception, betrayal, and finding the strength to reclaim your life. The champagne had gone flat by the time I realized something was wrong. It happened at Le Bernardin, that impossibly elegant restaurant where waiters move like shadows and the wine costs more than my car payment. Marcus had chosen it specially, made the reservation 3 months in advance, he later told me. The candlelight caught the edges of his nervous smile as he reached across the white tablecloth for my hand. "Emma," he said, and his voice cracked just slightly on my name. "These past 2 years have been the best of my life." My heart had started racing then, that familiar flutter that Marcus always managed to conjure. He was handsome in that understated way, dark hair that fell just right, green eyes that crinkled when he smiled, and hands that always knew exactly how to hold mine. That night, he wore the navy suit I'd helped him pick for his promotion dinner 6 months earlier. The proposal itself was perfect. He spoke about our first meeting at that terrible art gallery opening, where we'd both been dragged by friends and ended up hiding in the coat check room, critiquing the pretentious artist statements. He reminded me of our first kiss in the rain outside my apartment, how he'd missed his last train home and hadn't cared. He told me he wanted to wake up beside me for the rest of his life. The ring was stunning, a vintage Art Deco piece with a sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. "It reminded me of your eyes," he said as he slipped it onto my finger. The restaurant erupted in polite applause. Someone sent over champagne. But even in that golden moment, something nagged at me. As I admired the ring, I asked without thinking, "Did you tell your parents? They must be so happy." His smile flickered like a candle in wind. Just for a second. Then it was back, bright as ever. "Let's just enjoy tonight," he said, lifting his champagne glass. "To us." I clinked my glass against his, but the champagne tasted wrong after that. Too sweet. Too flat. That was 3 months ago. 3 months of wedding planning, of choosing flowers and arguing about guest lists, of tasting cakes and touring venues. 3 months of me trying to understand why my future husband's family remained complete strangers. Maybe they're just private people, I told myself the first few weeks. Some families were like that, reserved, formal, waiting for the right moment to open up. But as the weeks turned to months, the excuses grew thinner. "They're traveling," Marcus said when I suggested a dinner. "My father's not feeling well," he explained when I proposed a simple coffee meeting. "They're renovating the house," he offered when I asked if we could stop by one weekend. Each excuse was delivered with that same flickering smile, followed immediately by a distraction. A kiss, a suggestion for a movie, a sudden need to check his work emails. He was a master of redirection, my Marcus. I hadn't realized how skilled until I started paying attention. My best friend Sarah was the first to say something directly. We were having wine at her apartment, addressing save the dates, when she suddenly put down her pen. This is weird," she said, gesturing at the growing pile of envelopes. "There's not a single address here for Marcus's side." "He's handling those," I said quickly, but the excuse sounded weak even to me. Sarah gave me that look, the one she'd perfected over 15 years of friendship. "Has he told you anything about them? Their names? Where they live? What they do?" I opened my mouth to respond, then closed it. I knew his parents were Robert and Linda. I knew they lived somewhere in Connecticut. That was it. 2 years of dating, 3 months of engagement, and I knew less about his family than I knew about my baristas. No man hides his family without reason, Sarah said quietly. Just be careful. That night, I tried again. We were in bed, that drowsy, honest time when defenses are supposed to be down. I traced circles on his chest and asked, "Tell me about your mom. What's she like?" His body tensed beneath my fingers. Why? Because she's going to be my mother-in-law. Because I want to know what kind of grandmother our kids will have. Because it's normal to be curious about your fiancé's family, Marcus. He sat up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. Trust me, you don't need to meet them. The words came out sharp, almost angry. I'd never heard that tone from him before. It made me pull the sheet up higher, made me feel suddenly cold despite the warm evening. "I'm sorry," he said immediately, seeing my face. "I didn't mean it like that. It's just complicated." "Then explain it to me." But he was already getting out of bed, reaching for his phone. "I should check this work email. Big presentation tomorrow." It was Saturday night. There was no presentation. The pattern continued through every wedding planning session. The florist asked about his mother's favorite flowers. He changed the subject to my bouquet. The caterer wanted to know about family food allergies. He suddenly remembered an urgent call. The venue coordinator asked about his side of the seating chart. He suggested we discuss it later, always later. My parents started noticing too. My mother, ever the diplomat, tried to broach it gently over Sunday dinner. "Marcus, dear, we'd love to have your parents over before the wedding. To get acquainted." His hands trembled as he reached for his water glass. Actually trembled. "That's very kind, Mrs. Patterson. I'll talk to them about their schedule." My father, less subtle, said, "Son, they do know you're getting married, don't they?" The glass slipped from Marcus's hand, shattering on my mother's hardwood floor. Water spread across the wood like a secret spilling out. "Of course they know," Marcus said, but his voice was strained. He spent the next 10 minutes meticulously cleaning up every shard, as if the ritual of cleaning could somehow restore order to the conversation. That night, he had nightmares. He mumbled in his sleep, words I couldn't quite catch except for one phrase repeated. "Don't tell them. Don't tell them." Tell them what? The doubt became my constant companion after that. It sat with me during morning coffee, followed me to work, whispered during every wedding decision.
Who was I marrying?
How could I pledge my life to someone whose past was locked away like a crime scene? Even his friends knew nothing. At our engagement party, thrown by my friends, attended by my family, populated by my coworkers, his groomsmen admitted they'd never met his family either. Marcus compartmentalizes, his college roommate Jake explained, already 3 beers in. Always has. We used to joke he was in witness protection. Everyone laughed. I didn't. Because what if it wasn't really a joke? The breaking point came 2 weeks ago. We were finalizing the guest list, and I'd had enough of the evasion. I pushed a notepad across the table to him. "Write down your family's addresses. Your parents, at least. We're sending these invitations tomorrow, Marcus." He stared at the blank paper like it might bite him. "I'll email them the information."
No.
I surprised myself with the firmness in my voice. "Write them down.
Now."
"Emma, please. What are you so afraid of?" The question burst out of me, months of frustration finally boiling over. "Are they criminals? Are they dead? Are you ashamed of me? What is it?" His face went white, then red, then white again. "How dare you? How dare I? How dare you ask me to marry you while keeping half your life a secret?" He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "Maybe because that half of my life has nothing to do with us. Maybe because I'm trying to protect you." From what? He was already walking away. From things better left in the past. The door slammed behind him. He didn't come home that night. When he returned the next morning, he apologized, brought flowers, made promises about opening up when the time was right. But I'd already made my decision. I couldn't marry a stranger. And that's what he was, a stranger who happened to share my bed, my plans, my future. A stranger whose past was so terrible or shameful or painful that he'd rather lose me than reveal it. Lying in bed that night, I stared at the ring on my finger. The sapphire that reminded him of my eyes now looked like a deep pool of secrets. The diamonds that had sparkled with promise now seemed like tiny shards of all the things he wouldn't say. I loved Marcus. God help me, I loved him with every fiber of my being. But love without trust is just beautiful suffering. And I was tired of suffering. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow I would find out the truth, with or without his help. I would uncover what he was hiding, even if it meant losing him. Because the not knowing was already destroying us, one evasion at a time. I thought of his trembling hands, his nightmare mumbles, the way his face would go pale at any mention of family. Whatever he was hiding, it had its claws deep in him. And now, by extension, in me. I twisted the ring on my finger and made myself a promise. No more secrets. No more lies. I would find his family, and I would learn the truth, even if it destroyed everything we'd built together. I became a detective in my own relationship. It started small, with casual questions dropped into conversation like breadcrumbs. I'd wait until Marcus was relaxed, usually after his second glass of wine, and then I'd ask about his childhood. Simple things. Innocent things. Did you have a dog growing up? What was your first car? Did you play sports in high school? His answers came easily at first. No dog, but a cat named Schrödinger. His father was a physics professor, apparently. A beat-up Honda Civic that broke down every winter. Baseball, but he quit senior year. Each answer was a tiny piece of the puzzle that was Marcus's past, but the pieces didn't quite fit together. One evening, while he cooked dinner, I mentioned how my family always went to the Jersey Shore for summers. "Where did your family vacation?" I asked, keeping my voice light. He paused, wooden spoon suspended over the pasta sauce. "Different places," he said vaguely. "Like where?" "I don't really remember." "You don't remember where you went on family vacations?" The spoon clattered against the pot. "Why are you interrogating me, Emma?" "I'm not. I'm just making conversation about my fiancé's childhood. You know, like normal couples do." He turned to face me, and there was something desperate in his eyes. "Can we just not? Please? I'm trying to make us a nice dinner." The smell of burning garlic filled the kitchen. Neither of us mentioned it. 3 days later, while Marcus was at his gym, I did something I'm not proud of. I searched his study. He'd always been protective of that room.
It was his space, he said.
Where he worked from home, where he needed privacy to concentrate. I'd respected that boundary for 2 years. But boundaries built on secrets aren't really boundaries, they're walls. And I was tired of living behind walls. The study was meticulously organized. Files labeled by year, books arranged by topic, even his pens were sorted by color. Marcus controlled what he could control, I realized. Maybe because there was so much he couldn't. I found the locked drawer by accident. I was looking for a stamp when my hand hit the back of a bottom drawer and felt the outline of another compartment behind it. A hidden drawer behind the regular one. My heart pounded as I pulled everything out of the front drawer and found the small keyhole. The key wasn't hard to find. Marcus might be secretive, but he wasn't particularly creative. It was taped under his desk, exactly where anyone would hide a spare key. Inside the locked drawer were envelopes. Old ones, yellowed with age. Return addresses from Connecticut, all from the same street, 42 Maple Avenue, Maplewood, Connecticut. The handwriting was feminine, careful. His mother's? They were all unopened. I sat there for a long moment, holding those letters. Unopened letters from his mother. Who keeps unopened letters from their mother? I heard Marcus's key in the front door and quickly put everything back, my hands shaking as I locked the drawer and replaced the key. By the time he called out for me, I was in the living room, pretending to read a magazine I'd grabbed upside down. That night, Marcus talked in his sleep again. This time, I made out more words. "Maple," he said clearly. Then, "Can't go back. Don't tell them about Maple." Maple. Maplewood. The pieces were connecting, but the picture they formed made no sense. I started my social media investigation the next day during lunch break. Marcus's Facebook was sparse, just photos from the past 3 years, all carefully curated. No childhood pictures, no family photos, no tagged locations before he moved to New York. LinkedIn told me he'd graduated from Connecticut State University, but his employment history only went back 5 years. It was like he'd sprung into existence fully formed at age 25. Instagram, Twitter, even MySpace archives, I searched them all. Nothing. Either Marcus had scrubbed his online presence clean, or he'd never had one to begin with. In our hyper-connected age, that level of invisibility took effort. Deliberate, careful effort. I was getting desperate when fate intervened in the form of a chatty florist. We were finalizing the centerpiece designs when she looked at Marcus's name on the order form and said, "Oh, you're from Maplewood. My cousin lives there. Beautiful town. Do you know the Hendersons?" Marcus went rigid. "No," he said quickly. "Different Maplewood." The florist laughed. "There's only one Maplewood in Connecticut, honey. Small world. I probably know your parents. What did you say their names were?" "We should go," Marcus said, standing abruptly. "We'll email about the changes." He practically dragged me out of the shop. In the car, I confronted him. That was rude. She was prying. She was making conversation. And you lied to her. There is only one Maplewood in Connecticut, I checked. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. "You checked." "Yes, I checked. Because my fiancé is acting like he's in witness protection, and I'm tired of it." He pulled over suddenly, tires screeching against the curb. "Leave it alone, Emma. I'm begging you. Leave it alone." "Or what?" He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw something I'd never seen in his eyes before.
Fear.
Raw, desperate fear. "Or I'll lose everything," he whispered. But he'd already driven away before I could ask what everything meant. That weekend, Marcus had a conference in Boston. He'd be gone for 3 days. 3 days of opportunity. Saturday morning, I drove to Maplewood. It was exactly as Google Maps had promised, a quintessential Connecticut town with tree-lined streets and colonial houses. Maple Avenue was in the older section, where the houses had wraparound porches and histories dating back generations. I drove past number 42 3 times before I found the courage to stop. It was a white Victorian with green shutters and a garden that someone clearly loved. Wind chimes sang on the porch. A tabby cat watched me from a window. This was it. The house where Marcus grew up. The house he'd erased from his history. I sat in my car for an hour, engine running, heat blasting against the November chill. What was I doing? What kind of person sneaks behind their fiancé's back to meet his parents? But then again, what kind of person hides their entire family from someone they claim to love? An elderly woman emerged from the house next door, walking a small terrier. She noticed me sitting in my car and approached with the confident friendliness of someone who'd lived in the same neighborhood for decades. "Can I help you, dear? You look lost." I'm looking for the Brennan family," I said, using Marcus's last name. Her face brightened. "Oh, Robert and Linda. Lovely people. Very private, though. Especially after, well. Are you a friend of the family?" "After what?" I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled. Something like that. "They're usually home on Saturdays. Linda gardens in the afternoon, if the weather's nice." She looked at me more closely. "You know, you remind me of someone. Have we met?" "I don't think so. This is my first time in Maplewood." She studied me for another moment, then shrugged. "Well, good luck, dear. Tell Linda that Mrs. Patterson says hello." Mrs. Patterson. The universe had a sense of humor, same last name as my maiden name. I sat in the car for another 30 minutes after she left. The sun climbed higher, burning off the morning frost. The cat in the window disappeared, replaced by the shadow of someone moving inside. This was insane. I was insane. I should leave, go home, confront Marcus directly like an adult. Instead, I got out of the car. The walk to the front door felt like miles. Each step was a betrayal, each footfall an admission that I didn't trust the man I was supposed to marry. But I kept walking. The doorbell was old-fashioned, the kind you turned. It made a grinding mechanical sound that seemed to echo through the house and straight through my chest. Footsteps approached from inside. The door opened. And I found myself looking at Marcus in 30 years. The same green eyes, the same angular jaw, the same way of holding his shoulders. This was Robert Brennan, Marcus's father, and the resemblance was so strong it took my breath away. "Yes," he said, politely but with a hint of wariness. "Mr. Brennan? I'm Emma Patterson. I'm engaged to your son." The color drained from his face so fast I thought he might faint. He gripped the doorframe, knuckles white, and for a moment I saw Marcus's fear reflected in his father's eyes. "Marcus?" he whispered, and the name sounded like a prayer and a curse combined. "Yes." From somewhere in the house, a woman's voice called out, "Robert? Who's at the door?" He didn't answer her. He was staring at me like I was a ghost or maybe a nightmare. Finally, he stepped back. "You should come in. But God help you, you shouldn't be here." I crossed the threshold into Marcus's hidden past, and I knew there was no going back. Whatever secrets this house held, whatever truth Marcus had been running from, I was about to uncover it. The woman who appeared in the hallway had Marcus's dark hair, though hers was streaked with silver. Linda Brennan was beautiful in that delicate way that suggested a life lived carefully. When she saw me, her hand flew to her heart. "Robert, who is?" "She says she's engaged to Marcus." The silence that followed was so complete, I could hear the grandfather clock ticking in another room. Linda's eyes filled with tears that didn't quite fall. "Come in," she whispered. "We have so much to tell you." As I followed them into the living room, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. On the mantel were family photos, Robert, Linda, Marcus as a boy. And in every single photo, there was another child. A girl with Marcus's eyes and Linda's delicate features. A girl whose face had been carefully cut out of every single picture. "Yeah," Linda asked, her voice trembling. "You're going to need something stronger than water for what we have to tell you." I nodded, unable to speak. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows like something trying to get in. Or maybe like something trying to warn me to get out while I still could. But it was too late for warnings. I'd crossed the line from suspicion into truth, and there was no going back. Marcus had a sister he'd never mentioned, whose face had been erased from every family photo. What had happened to her? And more importantly, what had Marcus done? Linda Brennan's hands shook as she poured the tea. The delicate china rattled against itself, a nervous symphony that filled the silence. I sat on their floral sofa, feeling like an intruder in this perfectly preserved living room where time seemed to have stopped years ago. "You shouldn't be here," Robert said again, but his voice was softer now, resigned. He stood by the window, looking out at the street, as if expecting Marcus to appear at any moment. "Robert, she deserves to know," Linda said quietly, setting down the teapot. "If she's going to marry him." "Is she?" Robert turned to face me, and his eyes were hard. "Are you actually going to marry our son? Or are you here because you're having doubts?" The directness of the question caught me off guard. I love Marcus, but he won't tell me anything about you, about his past. A marriage can't be built on secrets." Linda made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob.
"No."
"No, it can't." She sat down across from me, and I could see Marcus in the way she folded her hands, the way she tilted her head when thinking. These were his gestures, his mannerisms, borrowed or inherited from the woman in front of me. "How long have you known him?" she asked. 2 years. We got engaged 3 months ago. And in all that time, he never mentioned us? He told me your names, that you lived in Connecticut. That's all." Robert's laugh was bitter. "Of course. The bare minimum of truth. Just enough to avoid outright lying." "He learned that from you," Linda said sharply to her husband, and I sensed an old argument, worn smooth from repetition. "Don't start," Robert warned. "Why not?" "She came here for answers." Linda turned back to me, and her smile was sad but warm. "You're brave, coming here. Or perhaps foolish. Sometimes they're the same thing." "Mrs. Brennan." "Linda, please. We're going to be family after all." She paused. "Or we would have been, if things were different." "Different how?" The grandfather clock chimed the hour, and both Brennans flinched at the sound. 4 o'clock. Marcus would be presenting at his conference right now, safely distant in Boston. No idea that his carefully separated worlds were colliding in his childhood home. He was such a gentle boy, Linda said suddenly, staring at something beyond me, maybe beyond the present entirely. So thoughtful. He'd bring me flowers from the garden, just dandelions and clover, but he'd arrange them so carefully in little juice glasses. He said every flower deserved to be beautiful. Linda, Robert warned. She needs to understand who he was before she can understand what he became. Was? I echoed. What he became. You're talking about him like he's dead. In a way, Robert said quietly, our son did die. The Marcus you know, he's someone else. Someone who had to become someone else to survive what happened. My tea sat untouched, growing cold. What happened? Please, I need to know. Linda stood abruptly and walked to the mantelpiece. She picked up one of the mutilated photos, running her finger over the cutout space where a face should be. Her name was Lily, she whispered. The name hung in the air like a confession. Lily. Marcus had a sister named Lily. She was 3 years younger, Linda continued. They were inseparable as children. Marcus was so protective of her. He'd walk her to school every day, even when he was in high school, and it wasn't cool to be seen with your little sister. He didn't care what anyone thought. She set the photo down gently, as if it might shatter. What happened to her? I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. He made his choice, Robert said, his voice hard. That's what happened. Robert, stop. Linda's voice cracked. It wasn't that simple. Wasn't it? He chose himself. He always chooses himself. He was 22 years old enough to know right from wrong. They were shouting now, years of pain erupting in front of a stranger. I sat frozen, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. Stop, I said quietly, then louder. Please stop. They both turned to look at me, as if they'd forgotten I was there. I'm sorry, Linda said, composing herself. We don't talk about this. We don't talk about anything anymore, really. How long has it been? I asked. Since you've seen Marcus? 6 years, Linda said. 7. Robert corrected. 7 years, 3 months, and 12 days. The precision of it broke my heart. He'd been counting. He sends money, Linda said defensively. Every month the check arrives. Money. Robert spat the word. As if money could fix what he broke. I stood up, unable to sit still any longer. The room felt too small, too full of ghosts. I walked to the mantelpiece and picked up one of the photos. Marcus, maybe 16 years old, grinning at the camera. And beside him, a hole where his sister should be. Why did you cut her out? I didn't, Linda said quickly. I would never. I did. Robert's voice was flat. I couldn't look at her face. Not after what he did. What he didn't do. You're talking in riddles, I said, frustration rising. What did Marcus do? What happened to Lily? Linda and Robert exchanged a look, one of those married couple conversations that happens without words. Finally, Linda nodded. Sit down, she said. I'll tell you what I can, what I know. But understand, Emma, once you know this, you can't unknow it. It will change how you see him. I sat back down, gripping my cold teacup like an anchor. It was 7 years ago, Linda began. Marcus had just graduated from college. He was living at home, looking for work. Lily was 19, a sophomore at UConn. She was studying to be a teacher. She wanted to work with special needs children. Her voice caught on the past tense. Wanted, not wants. They went to a party. Robert took over, his voice mechanical, like he'd told this story to himself 1,000 times. Some friend from high school was having a summer thing. Lake house. Marcus didn't want to go, but Lily convinced him. She was always good at that, getting him to loosen up. There was drinking, Linda continued. Too much drinking. Marcus knew better. He was supposed to be the responsible one. The older brother. The designated driver. I could see where this was going and my stomach turned. Was there an accident? No, Robert said. That might have been easier to forgive. An accident is a mistake. What Marcus did was a choice. Robert. He left her there. The words came out like bullets. He got into a fight with some guy over something stupid. A girl, probably knowing Marcus. His pride was hurt.
So he left.
Drove home alone. Left his 19-year-old sister at a party full of strangers, too drunk to even stand properly. The room spun slightly. I thought of Marcus, my Marcus, who wouldn't even let me take an Uber alone after dark, who insisted on walking me to my car in perfectly safe parking garages. That Marcus had left his teenage sister drunk at a party. She tried to get home on her own, Linda whispered.
She knew we'd be worried.
She was always so considerate, even drunk.
She decided to walk.
It was only 3 miles. But she never made it, I said, the words tasting like ash. Oh, she made it, Robert said, and there was something worse than grief in his voice. She made it halfway. That's where they found her the next morning. Found her? My voice was barely a whisper. Linda was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Someone hit her. A hit and run. They never found who did it. She was left on the side of the road for hours. By the time someone saw her and called 911. Is she? I couldn't finish the question.
Dead.
Robert laughed, but there was no humor in it.
No.
That would be too merciful, wouldn't it?
She's alive. If you can call it that.
Traumatic brain injury, Linda said clinically, like reading from a medical report. She's in a care facility now. Full-time care. She can't walk, can barely speak. She doesn't always know who we are. I thought I might be sick. And Marcus. Never visited her. Not once. Robert's hands were fists. We called him from the hospital that night. He came, saw her hooked up to machines and left. Just turned around and walked out. The next day, he packed his things and disappeared. 7 years, and he's never even asked how she is. He sends money, Linda repeated weakly. Blood money, Robert shot back. I stood up again, needing air, needing space, needing to be anywhere, but in this room full of broken people and destroyed families. I should go. Yes, Robert said. You should. And you shouldn't come back. But Linda grabbed my hand as I passed. Her grip was surprisingly strong. Be careful, she whispered urgently. You don't know him like we do. The Marcus we raised wouldn't have abandoned his sister. The person he became to live with what he did, we don't know who that is. You're scaring her, Robert said. Good. She should be scared. A man who can walk away from his sister dying in a hospital bed, who can pretend she never existed. What else is he capable of walking away from? I pulled my hand free, backing toward the door. Thank you for telling me. Emma, Linda called after me. The facility where Lily stays, it's called Sunshine Manor. In Hartford. In case you want to know the whole truth. I nodded and fled, their voices following me out. You shouldn't have told her that, Robert was saying. She has a right to know everything before she marries him. If she marries him. After today? Would you? I didn't hear Robert's answer. I was already in my car, driving too fast down Maple Avenue, away from the white Victorian with green shutters and the family photos with holes where faces should be. My phone buzzed. Marcus, calling from Boston. I let it go to voicemail. Hey babe, conference is going well. Boring as hell though. Miss you. Can't wait to get home tomorrow night. Love you. His voice sounded so normal. So Marcus. The same voice that told me he loved me every morning, that laughed at my bad jokes, that whispered my name in the dark. The same voice that had once belonged to a brother who left his sister to die. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed, Marcus's and mine, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything Linda and Robert had told me. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that photo, with the face cut out. Lily. Her name was Lily, and she was 19 years old when her brother's abandonment led to the destruction of her life. At 3 a.m, I got up and searched for Sunshine Manor online. The website was cheerful in that forced way medical facilities always are. Stock photos of smiling nurses, sunset banners, phrases like compassionate care and dignity in healing. They had a section for patient stories. I didn't look. I couldn't. Not yet. Marcus called again at 7. Morning, beautiful. Did you sleep well? Not really, I said, which was the only honest thing I could manage. Bad dreams. You have no idea, I thought. Something like that. I'll be home by 8 tonight. Want me to pick up Thai food? The normalcy of it made me want to scream. How could he talk about Thai food when his sister was lying in a care facility, unable to walk or speak properly? How could he act like everything was fine when he'd built our entire relationship on a foundation of lies? Sure. I heard myself say. Sounds good. You okay? You sound weird.
Ai fine.
Just tired. Get some rest today. Love you. Love you too. The words came out automatically, and I hated myself for them. Did I love him? Could you love someone you didn't really know? I called in sick to work and spent the day driving aimlessly around the city, trying to make sense of everything. The Marcus I knew was attentive, protective, caring. He volunteered at the animal shelter on weekends. He helped Mrs. Chen carry her groceries up 4 flights of stairs. He cried during Pixar movies. How did that Marcus reconcile with the one who'd abandoned his injured sister? Unless that was why he was so protective now. Overcompensation. Guilt manifesting as hypervigilance. Every gesture of care penance for the ultimate failure of care. Sarah texted mid-afternoon. Coffee? You sound like you need to talk. I met her at our usual place, a cramped cafe that made the best lavender lattes in the city. She took one look at my face and ordered us both doubles. What happened? She asked without preamble. I met his parents. Her eyes widened. Without him? Emma, what the hell? I know it was wrong. But Sarah, what they told me. I spilled everything, words tumbling over each other like rushing water. The sister. The accident. The abandonment. The 7 years of absolute silence. Sarah listened without interrupting, her expression growing more concerned with every detail. When I finished, she sat back and whistled low.
Holy shit, Eminência. Yeah.
What are you going to do? I don't know. Confront him, I guess? But how do you even start that conversation? Hey, honey, how is Boston? By the way, I know about Lily. Sarah stirred her coffee thoughtfully. Maybe there's more to the story. Maybe his parents don't know everything. What could possibly justify never visiting your sister after she was nearly killed? I don't know. But isn't it worth hearing his side before you make any decisions? She was right, of course. But part of me didn't want to hear his side. Part of me wanted to pack my things and leave before he got home, avoid the confrontation entirely. The coward's way out, like Marcus had taken 7 years ago. The thought stopped me cold. Was I really any better? Ready to run at the first sign of difficult truth? I'll talk to him, I decided. Tonight. Sarah squeezed my hand. Call me if you need anything. Even if it's 3 in the morning. Especially if it's 3 in the morning. I went home to wait. Marcus arrived at 8:17, Thai food in one hand, flowers in the other. I know you said you were tired, but I saw these and thought of you. They were tulips. My favorites. He always remembered things like that. We ate dinner in relative silence. He talked about the conference, some new technology his company was developing. I nodded and made appropriate noises, but my mind was elsewhere. I kept looking at his hands, the hands that had left Lily at that party. The hands that had packed his bags while she lay in a hospital bed. The hands that now held mine so gently. Okay, he said finally, setting down his chopsticks. What's wrong? You've been weird all day. This was it. The moment of truth. I met your parents. The words landed like a bomb in our kitchen. Marcus went completely still, the color draining from his face in stages, first pale, then gray, then a sickly white. What? The word was barely a whisper. I drove to Maplewood yesterday. I met Robert and Linda. He stood up so abruptly his chair crashed to the floor. You had no right. I had every right. I stood too, matching his energy. I'm supposed to marry you, Marcus. I'm supposed to spend my life with you, have children with you, and you've hidden an entire family from me. They're not my family anymore. Because you abandoned them? Or because they wouldn't let you pretend Lily never existed? At his sister's name, Marcus flinched as if I'd slapped him. Don't. Don't what? Say her name? Lily. Your sister Lily, who you left drunk at a party. Who tried to walk home alone. Who got hit by a car and left for dead because you couldn't swallow your pride long enough to drive her home safely. Stop. Who's been in a care facility for 7 years while you've been playing the perfect boyfriend to me, never once mentioning. Stop. He slammed his hands on the table, and our dishes jumped. I'd never seen him violent before. It scared me. Is this who you really are? I asked quietly. This angry person who screams and slams things? He crumpled then, sinking back into his chair after picking it up, head in his hands. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. Make me understand how you could leave your 19-year-old sister. She wasn't supposed to be there. The words exploded out of him. She was supposed to be at her dorm, studying. She lied to our parents, said she was staying in for the weekend. I didn't even know she was coming until she showed up already half drunk with her stupid friends. So, I was trying to move on with my life. I just graduated. I was trying to network, to meet people who might help me get a job. And then Lily shows up, drunk and loud and embarrassing, needing her big brother to babysit her like always. Like always? He laughed bitterly. They didn't tell you that part, did they? How Lily was the golden child who could do no wrong. How everything was always about protecting Lily, helping Lily, making sure Lily was okay. I couldn't have a normal teenage life because I was always responsible for perfect little Lily. She was your sister. She was their favorite. And they made sure I knew it every day of my life. The venom in his voice shocked me. This wasn't grief or guilt. This was old, festering resentment. Even if that's true, I said slowly, she didn't deserve what happened to her. No, he agreed, and for a moment I saw genuine pain flash across his face. She didn't, but neither did I. What happened to you? You walked away unscathed. And scathed? He stood again, pacing now. I lost everything that night. My family, my home, my entire identity. You think I don't carry that guilt every second of every day? You think I don't see her face every time I close my eyes? Then why don't you visit her? Because I can't. He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. Because seeing her like that, knowing it's my fault, it would kill me, Emma. It would literally kill me. So, you chose to protect yourself instead of facing what you did.
Yes.
Yes, I chose to protect myself. Because the alternative was putting a gun in my mouth, and I chose to live. Is that so wrong? The casual mention of suicide stopped me cold. Marcus. They poisoned you already, he said, wiping his face roughly. My parents. They told you their version, where I'm the villain and Lily's the perfect victim. They didn't tell you how she was drunk and high that night. How she was the one who picked a fight with that guy's girlfriend. How she was the reason I had to leave. She was 19, and I was 22, barely older. But I was supposed to be responsible for her choices. I was supposed to predict she'd try to walk home on a dark road instead of calling literally anyone else for a ride. He collapsed on the couch, exhausted by his outburst. I stayed where I was, trying to process this new information. There were two sides to every story, I knew that. But did it matter? The facts remained. Lily was in a care facility. Marcus hadn't seen her in 7 years, and he'd hidden all of this from me. You lied to me, I said finally.
For 2 years you lied.
I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you. That's the same thing, and you know it. He looked up at me, and his eyes were red-rimmed, desperate. If I told you on our first date that my sister was brain damaged because of me, would you have gone on a second? I don't know.
Exactly.
So I didn't tell you. And then the longer I waited, the harder it became. How do you bring something like that up? Pass the salt. Oh, by the way, I destroyed my family? You find a way. You trust the person you claim to love with your truth. I do love you. You love the version of yourself you get to be with me. The one without a past, without a sister, without guilt. But that's not real, Marcus. That person doesn't exist. He stood and crossed to me, trying to take my hands. I stepped back. Emma, please. We can work through this. I'll get therapy. I'll work on the guilt. Maybe someday, I'll even be able to visit her. Just, please don't leave me. You're all I have. Whose fault is that? It was cruel, but I couldn't help it. He'd made himself an island, and now he was surprised to find himself alone. I know I fucked up, he said. I know I should have told you. But Emma, I'm still me. I'm still the man who loves you, who wants to marry you, who wants to build a life with you. Are you? Because the man I thought I knew would never abandon his family. The man I thought I knew would face his mistakes, not run from them. People change. I've changed. Have you? Or are you still the same person who chooses himself over everyone else when things get hard? He stared at me for a long moment. That's what you think of me now? That I'm selfish? I think you're scared. And I think when you're scared, you run. From your family, from the truth, from anything that threatens the life you've built. What happens when we face something difficult? When we have problems? Will you run then too?
No.
Emma, I swear. Your parents said you send money. He blinked at the sudden change of subject.
Yes.
Every month. But you never ask how she is. I can't. You can't ask how your sister is doing? If I let myself know, then I have to feel it all again. The guilt, the pain, the reality of what happened. Yes. We stood there, a few feet apart but miles away from each other. The engagement ring on my finger felt impossibly heavy. I need time, I said finally, to think, to process all of this. How much time? I don't know. Are you breaking up with me? I don't know that either. He nodded slowly, defeated. I'll stay at Jake's tonight. Give you space. Thank you. He gathered a few things, moving mechanically. At the door, he paused. Emma? What I said about suicide, that was real. After it happened, after I left, I did think about it. A lot. Being with you, building this life, it's the only thing that's kept me going. I know that's not fair to put on you, but it's the truth. Marcus. I'm not saying it to manipulate you. I'm in a better place now. But I need you to know that leaving wasn't just cowardice. It was survival. And maybe that makes me weak, but I'd rather be weak and alive than strong and dead. He left before I could respond. I sat alone in our apartment, surrounded by the remnants of our Thai dinner and the flowers he'd brought home. The tulips were beautiful, just starting to open. I thought about second chances, about redemption, about whether someone could change fundamentally, or if we were all doomed to repeat our patterns forever. I thought about Lily, lying in a care facility, her life destroyed at 19. I thought about Marcus, carrying guilt so heavy he'd rather die than face it. I thought about Linda and Robert, counting the days since they'd lost both their children, one to injury, one to shame. And I thought about myself, sitting here with a choice to make. Stay with a man whose response to tragedy was to run, or leave and become another loss in his life, another abandonment, another proof that he didn't deserve forgiveness. There were no good answers. Only broken people trying to figure out how to live with their breaks. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Sunshine Manor's number. Visiting hours were from 9 to 5. Tomorrow, I decided. Tomorrow, I would meet Lily. And then I would know what to do. The tulips sat in their vase, opening slowly to the light, unaware that everything around them was falling apart. I gave myself 3 days. 3 days of Marcus texting carefully worded apologies and check-ins. 3 days of staring at my engagement ring. 3 days of replaying every moment of our relationship through the lens of what I now knew. On the 4th day, I drove back to Maplewood. Linda answered the door before I could knock, as if she'd been watching for me through the window. She looked older than she had 4 days ago, or maybe I was just seeing her more clearly now. I wondered if you'd come back, she said, stepping aside to let me in. I had to. I need to understand more. Robert's at work, she said, leading me to the kitchen this time instead of the formal living room. The kitchen was warmer, more lived in. Photos covered the refrigerator, old ones from before. Marcus and Lily at various ages, always together, always smiling. He didn't want me to talk to you again, Linda continued, putting the kettle on. He thinks we've interfered enough. And what do you think? She turned to face me, and her eyes were so much like Marcus's it hurt. I think you're the first person in 7 years who might be able to bring my son back to us, even if it's just to say goodbye properly. I don't think I have that kind of power. You'd be surprised. Love makes people brave. And despite everything, I know Marcus loves you. The fact that he hit us so completely proves it. How does lying prove love? Because he was terrified of losing you. The only things we hide that desperately are the things that could destroy what we care about most. The kettle whistled. She poured hot water over tea bags, Earl Grey this time, and sat across from me at the worn kitchen table. Can I show you something? She asked. I nodded, and she pulled out a thick photo album from a drawer. Not the carefully curated ones from the living room, but a messy, overstuffed collection that looked actually used. This was Marcus at 8, she said, opening to a page of birthday photos. He saved his allowance for 3 months to buy Lily that stuffed elephant for her birthday. She was 5. The photo showed a younger Marcus beaming as a tiny Lily clutched an enormous purple elephant almost as big as she was. This is them at the beach, Linda continued, flipping pages. Marcus taught her to swim. He was so patient. It took all summer, but he never gave up. Page after page of memories. Marcus pushing Lily on a swing. Marcus helping her with homework. Marcus in a suit at her middle school graduation. Marcus teaching her to drive in an empty parking lot, both of them laughing. They were close, I said unnecessarily. Inseparable. Until high school, really. That's when things started to change. The golden child thing Marcus mentioned? Linda's face tightened. Is that what he told you? That we favored Lily? He said everything was always about her. Everything was always about keeping her safe, Linda corrected. Lily was impulsive.
Wild.
She'd climb trees too tall, swim out too far, trust people too easily. Marcus was naturally cautious, responsible. Maybe we relied on him too much to watch out for her. She turned to a page of prom photos. Marcus in a tux, looking uncomfortable. No date. He didn't go to his own prom, Linda said. Lily had gotten in trouble that week, snuck out to meet some boy. We grounded her, and Marcus stayed home to make sure she didn't sneak out again. We didn't ask him to. He just did it. That must have been hard for him. We thought he was being a good brother. Now I wonder if he was already starting to resent her. Resent us. She closed the album carefully. I need to show you something else. Something Robert doesn't know I kept. She left and returned with a shoebox. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all in Marcus's handwriting. All unopened, just like the ones I'd found in his desk. He wrote to her. I whispered. For the first year. Sometimes 2 or 3 a week. Never mailed them, just wrote them. I found them in his room after he left. Have you read them?
No.
They're not mine to read. They're Lily's. I keep thinking someday he'll come back and give them to her himself. She laughed bitterly. Stupid, isn't it? Hope isn't stupid. After 7 years, it might be. I picked up one of the letters, feeling the weight of it. Marcus's guilt, his words, his attempt to communicate with his sister, all trapped inside unopened envelopes. There's something else, Linda said quietly. Something we didn't tell you before. About that night. My stomach clenched.
What?
The boy Marcus fought with at the party, the reason he left. It wasn't about a girl. The boy he was bothering Lily. Being aggressive. Marcus intervened, and it got physical. The host kicked Marcus out, but let the other boy stay. So Marcus was protecting her?
Yes.
But he was so angry. At the boy, at the situation, at Lily for putting herself in danger again. He left in that anger. Didn't think about what would happen to her without him there. Did he know? About the boy still being there? I don't know. He's never talked about it. Never talked about any of it. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the story settling around us. Can I ask you something? I said finally. If I could convince Marcus to visit Lily, would you want that? Even after all this time? Linda's eyes filled with tears. More than anything in the world. Even if it's just once? Just to say goodbye. Even then. She asks for him, you know. Not often anymore, but sometimes. Where's Marcus? She says. We tell her he's at work. It seems kinder than the truth. What is the truth? That her big brother, who once wouldn't let her walk to school alone, now can't bear to look at her. The words hung heavy between us. I thought of Marcus, sitting in Jake's apartment, convinced his guilt would kill him if he faced it. Maybe he was right. Or maybe facing it was the only way to survive it. The other sibling, I said suddenly. In the photos, before they were cut. That was Lily, Linda said quickly. Robert went through a phase where he couldn't see her face without rage. He's better now, but the photos. He cut out Lily? Not Marcus? Never Marcus. Even in his angriest moments, Robert couldn't erase his son. Just the reminder of what we lost. But Lily's still alive. Is she? Linda's voice was hollow. The daughter we raised loved to dance. She was on the debate team. She wanted to teach kindergarten. That girl is gone. The woman in that facility, we love her. God knows we love her, but she's not the Lily we knew. And Marcus? Is he still the son you knew? Linda was quiet for a long time. I don't know. That's what I need to find out. There's something else, I said, remembering. Marcus mentioned another name in his sleep once. Something about don't tell them about Maple. Linda frowned. Maple? That's just the street name. Maybe he was having nightmares about telling me. About his past catching up. Or maybe, Linda said slowly, he was rehearsing. Practicing what he'd say if he ever had to face it. Robert's car pulled into the driveway, and Linda quickly put away the shoebox of letters. Don't mention these, she said. He doesn't understand why I keep them. Robert entered through the kitchen door, stopping short when he saw me. You're back. I needed to know more. He set down his briefcase, looking tired. And? Do you know enough now to make your decision? I don't know if I'll ever know enough. Fair. He poured himself coffee from a pot that looked like it had been sitting all day. Has Linda told you her theory? That you can save him? Robert, Linda warned. What? It's what you think, isn't it? That this girl can somehow undo 7 years of cowardice. I think, Linda said carefully, that Emma might be the reason Marcus finally faces what happened. And if he doesn't? If he runs again? Then at least we tried. Robert turned to me. She won't tell you this, but I will. We're getting old. We won't be around forever. And when we're gone, Lily will have no one. The money Marcus sends isn't enough. She needs family. She needs her brother. I understand. Do you? Because if you marry him without resolving this, you're complicit. You're enabling his abandonment. Robert. Linda snapped. It's true. Every day he doesn't visit her is a choice. And if you accept that choice, you're part of it. The accusation stung because it was true. If I married Marcus knowing he'd abandoned his sister, knowing he continued to abandon her, what did that make me? Where's the facility? I asked. Sunshine Manor? Hartford, Linda confirmed. Exit 27 off I-91. Room 314. You want me to visit her? I want you to see her, Robert said. See what Marcus can't bear to see. Then make your decision. She might not understand who you are, Linda warned. Her cognition varies day to day. But you'll tell her about Marcus? Robert asked. You'll see if she remembers? Robert, that's cruel. Cruel is 7 years of abandonment. This is just truth. I stood to leave, feeling the weight of their expectations. At the door, Linda hugged me unexpectedly. Whatever you decide, she whispered. Thank you for caring enough to understand. As I drove away, I saw them in my rearview mirror, standing in the doorway together but apart, 2 people held together by shared loss and separated by how they handled it. My phone buzzed. Marcus, can we talk? Please. I texted back. Not yet. Then I programmed Sunshine Manor into my GPS. I didn't go to Sunshine Manor that day. Instead, I went home to find Marcus sitting on our doorstep, looking like he hadn't slept in days. You changed the locks? He asked, holding up his key.
No.
I just put the chain on.
Oh.
He stood awkwardly, unsure if he was allowed inside. Can we talk? We're talking. Inside? Mrs. Patterson is watching from her window. I glanced up to see our elderly neighbor poorly hidden behind her curtains. Despite everything, I almost smiled. Some things never changed. I let him in, but kept my distance, staying in the kitchen while he hovered near the door. You look terrible, I said. Thanks. You look beautiful. Don't.
Sorry.
I'm not. I don't know how to do this. Do what?
Beg.
Apologize. Explain. All of it. Any of it. He did look awful. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt, that careful control he always maintained completely absent. Did you go back to them? He asked suddenly. My parents. There was no point lying. Yes. His face crumpled. Of course you did. What else did they tell you? What other poison did they pour in your ear? They told me about the letters. He went very still. What letters? The ones you wrote to Lily. That first year. That you never sent. She had no right. Your mother loves you, Marcus. Both of them do. They just want their son back. Their son is dead. The words exploded out of him. The Marcus they raised, the good son, the perfect brother. He died that night on the side of the road with Lily. Lily isn't dead. Isn't she? Have you seen her? Have you been to that place? Have you? He laughed bitterly. Walked right into that one. Marcus, what are you so afraid of? Really? He sank onto our couch, his couch, my couch, I didn't know anymore, and put his head in his hands. I'm afraid, he said slowly, that if I see her, if I face what I did, I'll finally have to admit that I'm exactly who I've always feared I was. Which is? Someone who saves himself first. Always. The honesty of it took me by surprise. Is that who you think you are? Isn't it? I left her at that party. I ran from the hospital. I abandoned my family. And now, faced with losing you, all I can think about is how to save myself again. How to convince you to stay without actually changing anything. So change. I can't. He stood abruptly, pacing now. Don't you understand? The guilt isn't something I carry, it IS me. It's in every cell of my body. Going to see her won't absolve me. It'll just make it worse. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I've played it out 1,000 times in my head. I walk in, she doesn't recognize me. Or worse, she does, and she asks where I've been. What do I say? Sorry, Lily. I was too much of a coward to watch you struggle with basic motor functions. You say you're sorry. You say you love her. You say goodbye properly. And then what? I visit every week. Pretend to be a brother again? Watch her deteriorate year after year? Would that be so terrible?
Yes.
Because every visit would be a reminder of what she should have been, of the life I stole from her. You didn't steal anything. You made a mistake. A mistake. He whirled on me, eyes wild. A mistake is forgetting to lock the door. A mistake is sending a text to the wrong person. Leaving your teenage sister drunk and vulnerable isn't a mistake. It's negligence. It's selfishness. It's unforgivable. Then why am I still here? I asked quietly. If it's so unforgivable, why am I still talking to you? That stopped him. I don't know. Because I think people are more than their worst moment. Because I think redemption is possible. Because the Marcus I fell in love with does exist, even if he's built on a foundation of guilt. The Marcus you fell in love with is a lie.
No.
He's incomplete. There's a difference. He sat back down, deflated. My parents really did a number on you. Your parents love you. They're also angry and hurt and lost. Just like you. They hate me. Your father is angry. Your mother is heartbroken. But neither of them hate you. They hate what happened. They hate that you ran. But they don't hate you. How can you know that? Because they keep hoping you'll come back. After 7 years, they still hope. Your mother keeps your letters to Lily. Your father knows exactly how many days it's been since he saw you. Those aren't the actions of people who've given up. Marcus was crying now, silent tears rolling down his face. I can't be who they need me to be. Who do they need you to be? The son who makes it right, who fixes everything, who brings Lily back. No one can bring Lily back. Not the old Lily, but the Lily who exists now, who asks for her brother. Doesn't she deserve something? She deserves better than me. Maybe. But you're what she has. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the war playing out behind his eyes. Fear versus love. Guilt versus hope. The urge to run versus the need to stay. If I go, he said slowly, will you come with me? This isn't about me.
Please.
I can't do it alone. I'm not strong enough. Marcus. I know I have no right to ask. I know I've lied to you, hidden from you, disappointed you in every possible way. But Emma, if you come with me, if you help me face this, I swear I'll be better. I'll be the man you thought I was. I don't want you to be who I thought you were. I want you to be who you really are. All of it. The good and the bad, and the guilty and the scared. That person doesn't deserve you. Maybe not, but that's my choice to make. He stood and crossed to me, stopping just out of reach. I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Can you marry me knowing what I did? Knowing that I chose my own comfort over my sister's need for her brother? Knowing that I'm capable of that level of selfishness? I thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know. The honesty hurt him, I could see it, but he nodded. That's fair. But I continued. I think I could marry someone who faced their mistakes, who stopped running, who chose to be brave even when it terrified them. And if I can't, if I try and fail, then at least you tried. He reached out, not quite touching my hand. Come with me.
Please.
I'll go tomorrow, but only if you come with me. That's manipulation, Marcus. No, it's honesty. I'm not strong enough to do this alone. I need you. What about your parents? One impossible thing at a time. I thought about Lily, alone in room 314, asking where her brother was. I thought about Linda, keeping letters that might never be delivered. I thought about Robert, counting days like rosary beads. Okay, I said. Tomorrow. Marcus exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for 7 years. Tomorrow. But Marcus? This isn't a cure. Going once doesn't fix everything. I know. And I'm not making any promises about us.
Not yet.
I know that too. He turned to leave, then stopped. Can I stay tonight? Not in our bed. The couch is fine. I don't want to be alone. I should have said no. Should have maintained boundaries. But he looked so lost, so young, so unlike the controlled man I'd known for 2 years. The couch, I agreed. That night, I heard him on the phone, speaking quietly. It took me a moment to realize he was calling Sunshine Manor, confirming visiting hours. His voice shook as he said his sister's name. Later, around 3 a.m., I heard him throwing up in the bathroom. The physical manifestation of 7 years of suppressed guilt finally rising to the surface. I got up and brought him water, found him sitting on the bathroom floor, shaking. I don't know if I can do this, he whispered. Yes, you can. What if she hates me? She won't. How do you know? I thought of what Linda had said about Lily asking for her brother. Because love doesn't work that way. Doesn't it? You might leave me. That's love not working. No, that's love requiring honesty. Requiring courage. Love isn't unconditional acceptance of someone's worst choices. It's believing they can make better ones. He leaned his head against the wall. I wrote her a letter. Tonight. The first one I'll actually give her. What does it say? I'm sorry. I love you. I've missed you every day. That's good. That's a start. Is it enough? It's more than she's had for 7 years. We sat on the bathroom floor until dawn, not touching, not talking much, just existing in the space between what was and what might be. Marcus dozed off eventually, and I watched him sleep, seeing for the first time not the man who'd hidden his past, but the boy who'd been crushed by it. Tomorrow, we would drive to Hartford. Tomorrow, Marcus would face his sister. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, we sat on the cold bathroom floor, two people brought together by love and torn apart by secrets, waiting for the sun to rise on what felt like the first day of either our ending or our beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from Linda. "Robert told me you might visit Lily. If you see our son, tell him we love him. Tell him to come home." I looked at Marcus, still sleeping fitfully against the wall, and wondered if home was a place you could return to after 7 years of self-imposed exile, or if some doors, once closed, could never fully reopen. In a few hours, we'd find out. The sun came up gray and uncertain, matching my mood exactly. Marcus stirred, opened his eyes, and for a moment looked confused about where he was. Then memory returned, and with it, fear. "It's today," he said. "It's today. I might run. When we get there, I might not be able to get out of the car. Then we'll sit in the car until you can. What if I never can? Then at least you got to the parking lot. That's further than you've gotten in 7 years." He stood, stretching muscles cramped from sleeping on the floor. "I should shower. Try to look presentable." "Marcus." "Yeah. Whatever happens today, I'm proud of you for trying." He started to cry again, and I realized that maybe no one had said those words to him since the accident. Maybe he'd been waiting 7 years to hear that someone, anyone, was proud of him for something. "Thank you," he whispered, and went to get ready to face his sister. The letter he'd written lay on the coffee table, sealed and addressed simply, "For Lily with love." In 2 hours, he'd either deliver it or run away with it still in his pocket. I genuinely didn't know which would happen, but I was going to be there either way. The drive to Hartford took forever and no time at all. Marcus gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white before we even left the city. I'd offered to drive, but he insisted. Needed the control. Needed something to do with his hands. The letter to Lily sat in his jacket pocket. I saw him touch it obsessively, making sure it was still there, as if it might disappear. "Tell me about her," I said as we merged onto I-91. "Not the accident. Her. What was she like?" Marcus was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. Then, she laughed at everything. Even things that weren't funny. Especially things that weren't funny. She'd find humor in the darkest situations. Like what? When our grandfather died, we were at the funeral. Everyone crying, and Lily leans over and whispers, "He looks better than he did at Christmas." I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. In the middle of his eulogy, Mom was mortified. Sounds like she had good timing. The worst timing. Or the best, depending on how you look at it. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. She was fearless. Recklessly so. When she was 12, she entered a talent show to sing, even though she was completely tone-deaf. I mean, spectacularly bad. But she got up there and belted out, "My heart will go on," with total confidence. Did people laugh? They tried not to. But by the end, everyone was charmed by her complete lack of shame. She got a standing ovation for enthusiasm. You must have been proud. I was mortified. And proud. Both. His hands relaxed slightly on the wheel. She was everything I wasn't. Spontaneous, where I was careful. Brave where I was cautious. Open where I was closed off. Sounds like you balanced each other. We did. Until we didn't. We drove in silence through Connecticut's industrial corridor, past Hartford's skyline, following the GPS's calm directions to exit 27. As we got closer, Marcus's breathing became shallower. "I can't do this," he said suddenly, pulling into a gas station. "I'm sorry, I can't." "Okay. We'll wait." "No, you don't understand. I physically can't. I feel like I'm dying." He was having a panic attack. I'd seen them before and my sister knew the signs. I got out, walked around to his door, opened it. "Breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. "I can't." "You can." For counts in. 1, 2, 3, 4. We breathed together for 10 minutes, cars pulling in and out around us, until his color returned to normal. "This is pathetic," he muttered. "This is human. She's my baby sister. I should be running to see her." "She was your baby sister. Now she's someone you haven't seen in 7 years who represents the worst moment of your life. It's okay to be scared." He looked at me with such raw gratitude, I had to look away. "Ready?" I asked.
No.
"But let's go anyway." Sunshine Manor was nicer than I'd expected. Not luxurious, but clean, well-maintained, with gardens that someone clearly cared for. The receptionist smiled warmly when we entered. "Visiting Lily Brennan," Marcus managed. "Oh, Lily. She'll be so happy. She doesn't get many visitors besides her parents. Room 314, 3rd floor. Elevators are to your left." Marcus froze. "Her parents visit?" "Twice a week, like clockwork. Lovely people."
Twice a week.
For 7 years. While Marcus sent checks. The elevator ride was silent. The 3rd floor smelled of antiseptic and something floral, someone trying to make institution feel like home. We passed rooms with doors open, glimpses of lives paused, a man in a wheelchair staring at a TV, a woman being fed by a nurse, someone's grandmother asleep with a teddy bear. Room 314 had Lily's name on a little plaque decorated with hand-drawn flowers. Through the small window, I could see her. Marcus made a sound like he'd been punched. Lily was beautiful. Even with the obvious signs of her injury, the slight asymmetry of her face, the wheelchair, the way her left hand curled inward, she was lovely. She had Marcus's dark hair, though longer, braided carefully by someone who loved her. She was looking out the window, humming something tuneless. "I can't," Marcus whispered. "You can. Look at her. Look at what I... Look at your sister, who's been waiting 7 years to see you." Before he could run, I knocked and opened the door. Lily turned, and her face lit up with a smile that was pure sunshine. "Visitors." Her voice was different than I'd expected, slower, slightly slurred, but warm. Welcoming. "Hi, Lily," I said gently. "I'm Emma, and I brought someone to see you." Marcus stepped into view, and Lily's smile faltered, confusion crossing her features. She studied him, head tilted, and I watched recognition dawn slowly, like sunrise. "Marcus," she whispered. He nodded, unable to speak. "Marcus," she said louder, and tried to stand, forgetting she couldn't. The effort made her chair roll backward, and Marcus lunged forward instinctively, catching her before she could fall. And then they were hugging, Lily's good arm wrapped around her brother's neck, Marcus sobbing into her shoulder, 7 years of absence collapsing into this single moment. "You came back," Lily said, patting his head like he was the younger sibling. "I knew you'd come back." "I'm sorry," Marcus choked out. "Lily, I'm so sorry." "Sure," she soothed. "No crying. Happy day. Marcus is here." He pulled back to look at her, really look at her, and I saw him catalog every change, every scar, every sign of damage. "I should have been there," he said. "You're here now," Lily replied simply, as if that erased everything. A nurse appeared in the doorway. "Everything okay?" "Oh my goodness, is this my brother?" Lily announced proudly. "This is my brother Marcus." The nurse's eyes widened. She'd clearly heard about the absent brother. "How wonderful. Lily, what a special day." "The most special," Lily agreed, not letting go of Marcus's hand. We spent the next hour in a strange, tender bubble. Lily showed Marcus her room, her drawings on the wall, abstract but colorful, her collection of stuffed animals, each with a name and backstory, her photos. So many photos, including ones of Marcus from before. "Mom brings pictures," she explained. "So I don't forget." "Did you?" Marcus asked quietly. "Forget? Sometimes. But then I remember again. You taught me to swim." "I did. You let me wear your baseball cap. It was too big for you. I liked it big." She touched his face suddenly, her good hand tracing his features. "You look sad." "I am sad." "Why?" Marcus looked at me helplessly. "How do you explain 7 years of guilt to someone whose concept of time has been fractured?" "Because I missed you," he said finally. I missed you too. But you're here now, so no more sad. The simplicity of her forgiveness was devastating. No accusations, no anger, just pure happiness that her brother had returned. Aid brought in lunch, and Lily insisted on sharing her pudding with Marcus, feeding him bites with intense concentration. You're too skinny, she declared. Mom says you don't eat. Mom talks about me? All the time. Dad too, but he gets the angry face. She mimicked Robert's stern expressions so perfectly that Marcus actually laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard from him since this all started. I have something for you, Marcus said, pulling out the letter. Lily clapped excitedly. Present. It's a letter. Read it. Marcus opened it with shaking hands. Dear Lily,
I'm sorry.
I love you. I've missed you every day. I love you too, she said immediately. Write that down. Love, Lily. Marcus added it to the bottom of the letter, and Lily insisted on signing it with her good hand, the letters shaky but determined. As the visit went on, I understood what Linda had meant about Lily not being the same person. She had moments of complete clarity, followed by confusion. She'd start a story and lose the thread. She called Marcus by their father's name once, then corrected herself, frustrated. But she was still Lily in essential ways. Still finding humor, she made jokes about her lazy left side. Still fearless, she showed us how fast she could wheel her chair down the hall, causing nurses to scatter. Still loving, she introduced Marcus to every staff member they passed, proud as could be. Will you come back? She asked as we prepared to leave. Marcus looked at me, then back at his sister. Yes. Tomorrow? Not tomorrow, but soon. Promise. I promise. She held out her pinky, and he linked his with hers, a childhood ritual remembered. As we walked back down the hallway, Marcus was quiet. In the elevator, he said, She's happy. She seems to be. How is that possible? After everything? Maybe, I said carefully, because she doesn't carry the guilt. That's all yours. In the parking lot, Marcus stopped suddenly. We have to go back.
What?
Why? I didn't tell her the most important thing. He practically ran back to the building, me following, confused. Back to room 314, where Lily was showing her aide the letter. Marcus, she said, delighted. You came back again. He knelt beside her wheelchair. Lily, I need to tell you something. Okay. The accident. What happened to you? It was my fault. I left you at that party. I should have protected you and I didn't, and I'm so sorry. Lily frowned, processing. Then she bonked him gently on the head with her good hand. Dummy. What? Not your fault. Bad driver's fault. They hit me, not you. But I left you. I was a grown-up. 19. She said it carefully, proud of remembering. Grown-ups make their own choices. You were drunk. My choice. She pointed at herself. My choice to drink. My choice to walk. Your choice to leave. But not your choice to hit me with a car. The simple logic of it seemed to break something in Marcus. He started crying again, and Lily pulled him close. No more sorry, she said firmly. Sorry is done now. Just love, okay? Okay, he whispered.
Good.
Now go home. It's almost dinner, and Tuesday is mac and cheese. We left again, and this time Marcus made it all the way to the car before breaking down completely. He cried for 20 minutes, great heaving sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than his chest. I held him while he shook apart, and slowly came back together. She doesn't blame me, he said, wondering. She never did. How did you know? Your mom told me. Lily asks for you. Not with anger, just missing you. He was quiet for a long moment. We have to go to Maplewood.
Now.
While I'm brave. While I remember what courage feels like. The drive from Hartford to Maplewood took 30 minutes. Marcus called his mother from the car. Mom, his voice cracked on the word. It's me. I know it's been. I'm coming home. Just for a visit.
I'm Ben and Emma.
Yes, the woman who...
Okay.
Tell Dad. Mom, please don't cry. We'll be there in 20 minutes. When he hung up, his hands were shaking again, but differently.
Not fear this time.
Anticipation. What did she say?
I asked.
She said she's making pot roast. She said Dad's in the garden. She said. He paused, swallowed. She said, welcome home. When we pulled up to the white Victorian with green shutters, both his parents were on the porch. Linda was openly crying. Robert stood rigid, arms crossed, but I could see his jaw working. Marcus parked but didn't move. What if they love you? Just remember that. Whatever happens, they love you. We got out together. Marcus walked slowly, like he was moving through water. At the porch steps, he stopped.
Mom.
Dad. Linda flew down the steps and into his arms, sobbing his name over and over. Marcus held her, his own tears falling into her graying hair. My boy, she kept saying. My boy is home. Robert descended, more slowly. When Linda finally released Marcus, father and son stood face to face. The resemblance was even stronger now. Two versions of the same man separated by 30 years and an ocean of pain. You saw her, Robert said. It wasn't a question. I saw her. And she's herself. Different, but herself. She's happy. No thanks to you. Robert. Linda protested. No, he's right, Marcus said. She's happy despite me, not because of me. But Dad, she forgave me. Without question, without hesitation. She forgave me. Robert's composure cracked. Of course she did.
She's Lily.
She doesn't know how to hold a grudge. Unlike you. Unlike me. Robert admitted. I've held enough grudges for the whole family. I don't blame you. I don't need your permission to be angry, Marcus. I know. I need you to know that I understand. Why you hate me. I don't hate you, Robert said quietly. I've wanted to. God knows I've tried. It would be easier if I could hate you. But you're my son. I hate what you did. I hate that you ran. I hate that you left us all to grieve alone. But I don't hate you. Marcus broke down again, and this time, Robert caught him, held him. For the first time in 7 years, father held son while both of them cried. We went inside, into the kitchen that smelled like pot roast and memory. Linda bustled around, needing to do something with her hands, while Robert opened windows like fresh air could clear 7 years of stale pain. Emma saw everything, Marcus said suddenly. The photos, the letters, all of it. And she's still here. They all looked at me, and I felt the weight of their attention. The mother desperate for reconciliation, the father skeptical of forgiveness, the son terrified of abandonment. I'm still here, I confirmed. Even knowing what he did? Robert asked. Especially knowing what he did. And what he did today. Marcus reached for my hand under the table, and I let him take it. I'm going to visit her, Marcus announced. Regularly. Not every day, I can't, but weekly. At least weekly. That's good, Linda said, tearful. She'll love that. And I want to pay for her care.
Properly.
Not just sending checks, but being involved. Understanding what she needs. We can manage, Robert started.
Please.
Let me do this. I can't fix what happened, but I can do this. They talked for hours, carefully at first, then with growing ease. About Lily's progress, her bad days and good days. About the family Marcus had missed, cousins married, babies born, milestones celebrated without him. About his life in New York, sanitized versions of stories they'd missed being part of. As the sun set, Linda brought out photo albums. Not the ones I'd seen before, but newer ones. Pictures of Lily in the facility, smiling. Pictures of her with her parents. Pictures of life continuing, imperfectly, but persistently. She made this, Linda said, pulling out a painted canvas. It was abstract, blues and greens swirling together. She said it was the ocean. She remembers the ocean. We went to the Cape, Marcus said softly. When she was 10. She was terrified of the waves at first, then couldn't get enough of them. She remembers that? Pieces. She remembers pieces of everything. At some point, dinner was served. At some point, we moved to the living room. At some point, Marcus stopped looking like he might bolt at any moment. But then Robert asked the question I'd been dreading. So, are you two still getting married? The room went silent. Marcus looked at me, waiting. This was it. The moment of decision. I thought about the last week. The discoveries, the confrontations, the pain of learning that the person you love has dimensions you never imagined. I thought about Marcus abandoning his sister, hiding his past, building a relationship on fundamental omissions. But I also thought about today. The courage it took to walk into that facility. The grace of Lily's forgiveness. The raw honesty of a family trying to heal. I don't know, I said honestly. We have a lot to work through. Marcus's face fell, but he nodded. I understand. But I continued. I know I want to try. If Marcus is willing to do the work, real work, therapy, family counseling, whatever it takes, then yes, I want to try. Really? Marcus's voice was small, hopeful. Really? But there are conditions. Anything. No more lies. Ever. About anything. Done. We postpone the wedding. We're not ready. We need to rebuild. Okay. You go to therapy. Individual and couples. Yes. And Marcus. I turned to face him fully. If you ever run from something like this again, I'm gone. No second chances.
No explanations.
I won't spend my life wondering when you'll disappear. I won't. I swear. Don't swear. Just do better. Linda was crying again, but smiling through it. Robert looked relieved. Marcus looked like a man who'd been granted a stay of execution. We left late, after promises to visit again soon, to bring Lily to Sunday dinner if the facility allowed it, to try to be a family again. It wouldn't be easy. 7 years of scar tissue doesn't disappear in one evening. But it was a start. In the car, Marcus was quiet for a long time. Finally, he said, "That thing you said about conditions?" "Yeah. There's something else I should tell you."
My heart sank.
"What now?" "I've been seeing a therapist. For 3 months. Since right after we got engaged." I stared at him. What? I knew I was broken. I knew I was hiding something that would eventually destroy us. I thought maybe if I could fix myself first, I wouldn't have to tell you. Cowardly, I know. Does your therapist know? About Lily?
No.
I couldn't even tell her. I just talked around it. But I will now. I'll tell her everything. Marcus. Yeah, that's the first secret you've told me voluntarily. Thank you. He reached for my hand, and I let him hold it as we drove home. Not to our apartment, that would come later, after work and healing and rebuilding trust. For now, he would stay with Jake again, and I would process everything that had happened. But as we drove through the dark toward the city, I found myself thinking about the plane tickets Marcus had hidden in his laptop bag, the ones I'd found while looking for answers. 2 one-way tickets to Costa Rica, dated for next month. His escape plan. I hadn't told him I knew about them yet. That would be tomorrow's conversation. A test, perhaps, to see if he'd voluntarily confession this last secret, or if the pattern of concealment was too deeply ingrained to break. "Emma?" Marcus said suddenly. "What are you thinking about?" "The future," I said, which was true enough. "Do we have one? A future?" "I don't know. But for the first time since this all started, I think it's possible." He squeezed my hand, and we drove on through the darkness, toward whatever came next. 3 weeks later, Marcus showed me something on his laptop. The plane tickets to Costa Rica, now canceled. "I was going to run," he admitted. "If you'd left me, I was going to disappear completely. Start over somewhere new." "I know," I said. "I found them the day after you went to Boston." His jaw dropped. "You knew? This whole time?" "I was waiting to see if you'd tell me. And if I hadn't, then we'd be having a very different conversation." He closed the laptop and looked at me. "I'm done running, Emma. From you, from my family, from myself. I'm done. Prove it. Every day for the rest of my life, if you'll let me." I thought of Lily, painting oceans she could barely remember. Of Linda, keeping letters that might never be sent. Of Robert, counting days until his son came home. Of all of us, broken in different ways, trying to find wholeness in the pieces. Okay, I said. Every day. The wedding would wait. Trust would be rebuilt slowly, carefully, with professional help and daily choices. Marcus would visit Lily every Tuesday, mac and cheese day. His parents would come to the city once a month for dinner. The family photo albums would get new pictures, ones with all faces intact. It wasn't the love story I'd imagined when Marcus proposed at Le Bernardin with champagne and sapphires. It was messier, more painful, more real. But it was ours, built not on the absence of mistakes, but on the courage to face them. And maybe, I thought as I watched Marcus video call Lily to say goodnight, a new ritual every evening at 8. That was enough. Maybe choosing to stay, to fight, to forgive, was its own kind of love story. The kind that doesn't end with a perfect wedding, but with a perfectly imperfect understanding. We are all capable of terrible things. We are all capable of running from them. But we are also capable of stopping, turning around, and walking back through the door we slammed shut. Even if it takes 7 years. Even if our hands shake the whole way. Even if the person we're walking toward might not be the same as when we left them. We can still choose to show up. Marcus did. Finally, he showed up. And I chose to be there when he did. That's the real ending to this story. Not a wedding or a breakup, but two people standing in the wreckage of perfect love, deciding that imperfect love might be enough. Deciding to try. Every day. For the rest of our lives, if we're lucky. If we're brave. If someone you loved was hiding a terrible mistake that defined their entire life, would you stay once you learned the truth? Or would their capacity for that kind of deception be the very thing that drives you away? Let me know in the comment below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about the secrets we keep and the price we pay for love.